Third noble truth. Unpleasant things happen. This is inevitable in life. But gratefully, everything comes to an end. Everything changes. And while the unpleasant is happening, we can learn how to not throw another log on the fire. And this kind of practice moves us in the direction of Nirodha, the cessation of suffering, the unbinding from suffering. So let's just go back to the first noble truth and look at the different types of dukkha, of suffering that exist. There's the dukkha. That's the added distress from resisting, from pushing away in response to unpleasant physical and mental experiences like sickness, old age, death, loss. There's sankhara dukkha, and that's the added layers of distress that we cause by our thinking and musing and ruminating and judging experience. And then there's the parinama dukkha, which is the added distress that comes from trying to hold on to pleasant experience. In all three cases, it's our reactions that cause our suffering. Practice is asking us to see our reactivity and feel the added suffering, and to taste this added suffering enough times to say enough already, enough, and interrupt the cycle, or to let it die on the vine without further judgment, because we recognize that it will die if we let it pass on its own. And as we unpack reality, the reality of the situation from a mindful view, from a friendly, non-judgmental view, we can see ourselves, the subject, the protagonist of our story. And we can see what we've gotten attached to, the object, and our reaction to that object. Wanting it, not really sure if I want it or not. Parsing out reality in this way, we can see our contribution to the equation. This is exactly what we want to see and feel and get to know in order to untangle from our suffering. When I have a migraine, unpleasant physical sensations arise, right? And I feel it. It's not happening to you, it's happening to me. It's personal, right? Right. On the one hand, it is personal, but on the other, it's just about the nature of this body, biologically speaking. Two truths, one reality. Susan can fight all she wants about it, but this body is wired to be sensitive in this way. But if left to my own devices, out of habit, I may judge, get mad, fight, resist, ignore, get away from the pain. And while I'm doing that, I'm expending a lot of futile energy. But with a friendly, mindful view, recognizing and feeling the physical pain, the migraine, I can also feel the me that is suffering and the me that is reacting. And I can minister to the physical pain and to that me that is suffering. The trick is that I have to see this pain in order to do anything about it. Strange as this may sound, even pain can fly under the radar of awareness. Even with something like a migraine, it's easy for me to miss the early signs. Especially easy because migraines are a frequent visitor to my guest house. So it's easy for me to miss the things that register as pain. But each time I have an episode, I have to notice the pain as if for the first time. I have to register that pain. It has to reach a certain threshold for me to become aware of it. But then, still, if I register that pain as mine, I'm apt to suffer more than if I can just register the pain, the unpleasant sensations mindfully, and notice this is just what my body does. This is its process. And know that the unpleasantness is out of my control. And if it's not in my control, well then, the task at hand is simply to tend to it, to minister kindly to the pain that I'm really feeling, just like I would minister to a child with a scraped knee, soothing the physical boo-boo and soothing their bruised ego. They're there, my darling. Now, let's let go. Let's get you to a place where you're feeling a little bit more comfortable. They're there, my darling. Do you hear that subtle shift of attention and attitude? That's mindfulness to the rescue. This kind, caring responsiveness engages the practice of Nirodha, of letting go of the unnecessary, underline that, unnecessary layers of suffering that we add to the mix out of habit. Mindfulness wakes us up out of these insidious habits of harm that we cause ourselves and other people, so that we can interrupt them as quickly as possible. Interrupt them enough times, and slowly but surely, old habits begin to die on the vine, become less problematic, arise less frequently, or with less intensity. When does pain and distress register for you? When can you actually see and feel it enough to notice it and name it? When the mind is spinning out or holding on to a story about you or about somebody else, weaving a story about being aggrieved, amused, or pleased, when do you see it? When do you notice that? Notice it enough that you can notice a name. That's the first step. Then notice your relationship to it. Was I ignoring the pain? So I didn't take my medicine in time before it escalated? Or am I getting mad at the pain? At myself or at the migraines, muttering unkind things to myself like I'm so lame or my body's weak and defective, and then my pain escalates? Or am I trying to get rigid with routines, trying to hold on to a migraine-free state, trying to stave off the impossible, when really it's just recognizing that it's going to come and go of its own accord. And I can do my best, and it is my job to do my best to support my well-being. But I can't stem the tide of Mother Nature. Not this body's nature is to have pain in that way. Right? Practice teaches us how to accept this truth, the truth that we are part of nature and that we can't control everything that happens to us. We can learn how to tend to it, but we can't control it. So it teaches us how to actively and skillfully relate and respond to dukkha, such that it leads to its lessening or its complete dissolving. This is what Nirodha is pointing to. Cessation from suffering. Thank goodness. So that's what we'd like to keep developing in our practice, this skill of letting go of suffering.